And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with Mike Vincent.
Hello, Michael Vincent here, and thank you for watching the second half of my top 10 heroes of the Lord of the Rings living card game. Last time we looked at the number 10 through number 6, and today we're going to look at the number 5 all the way through to number 1. So let's jump in and take a look at the top 5 heroes for the Lord of the Rings living card game. Alright, so here we are looking at number 5, and the number 5 slot goes to Leadership Boromir. So yes, there are two versions of Boromir in this game, one for tactics and one for leadership, but I feel the leadership gets the edge. So let's take a look. He is Gondor, he is warrior, and he is a noble. He has a starting threat of 11, and he has 1 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, and 5 hit points. So his stats are good, but his ability is what really makes Boromir powerful. While Boromir has at least 1 resource in his resource pool, Gondor allies get +1 attack. So the reason I thought the Boromir deserved to be quite high on this list is because he will buff all of his Gondor allies in your deck. We've seen a lot of cards come out recently boosting the Gondor trait, and so you can make some very potent and powerful Gondor decks, and his ability to boost all of their attacks is very powerful. Yes, you have to have a resource, but we all know that leadership excels at getting resources, and there are cards specifically that will give resources to Gondor heroes. Perhaps you'd want to play a Steward of Gondor on him. Yes, he already has the Gondor trait, but being able to generate those extra resources every turn is going to allow you to ensure that you have a resource to boost all of your allies. So a very strong hero, when you consider as well that a lot of the most recent quests have the battle questing mechanic. So this allows you to quest with characters and heroes using their attack rather than their willpower. So not only is Boromir good for boosting your allies and their attacking ability, but he can also make them very strong questing if you're doing battle questing. So Boromir, in my opinion, belongs in the top 10. Originally, he is not someone I really considered, but when I looked at his ability, he's not a hero I've played a ton of, but one of the new decks I want to play with will be a mix of Gondor and Rohan, so I think there's a good chance that Boromir will make it. So there we go, the number 5 slot goes to Leadership Boromir. So we're getting pretty high now, we are in the top 4, and the number 4 slot goes to Leadership Aragorn. So again, there are two versions of Aragorn in this game, but I feel Leadership Aragorn is just a little bit better. He has a starting threat of 12, he has 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, and 5 hit points. He is also from the core set, and he is a Dunedain, a noble, and a ranger. He is a sentinel, which means he can block for your partners, and reads response: after Aragorn commits to a quest, spend 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. So we have his abilities, which are okay. Being able to ready him, he has good, well-rounded stats, so you can quest with him, you can attack with him, or you can defend with him, and he's very sturdy with 5 hit points. But I feel the reason that Aragorn deserves a spot this high up on the list is because there's cards that specifically target Aragorn and make him very powerful. So I think on just his core card, perhaps you wouldn't think that he would be that good, but I think when we look at some of these other cards that combo so well with Aragorn, it really makes him extra powerful. So let's take a look at those cards. Okay, so here we have 3 artifacts specifically made for Aragorn. So the first is the Celebrian Stone, has a cost of 2, it's an artifact and an item, and reads, attached to a hero restricted, attached hero gets +2 willpower. So this is going to boost Aragorn from 2 to 4, making him that much more powerful of a quester, on par with Éowyn, and reads, if attached hero is Aragorn, he also gains the Spirit resource icon. So if you consider if you attach something like Steward of Gondor to Aragorn, it's going to make you more readily able to ready him, and it will also allow you to start paying for allies and cards from other spheres. So yes, he's leadership, but with the Celebrian Stone, it's going to give him the Spirit resource icon. We also see the Ring of Barahir. It has a cost of 1, It is also an artifact, an item, and a ring, and it reads, attached to a hero. Attached hero gets +1 hit point for each artifact attachment attached to it. So here I can see that this is made for Aragorn and that there are 3 artifacts that all play very well with him. So you can potentially boost his hit points then up to 7. And if attached hero is Aragorn, he also gains the lore resource icon. So whereas oftentimes you need to play a song to give extra resource icons to heroes, here we see with Aragorn it's very easy for a low cost to give him both the spirit resource icon and the lore resource icon. So it makes him very versatile if you're playing multi-sphere decks and allows him to pay for cards from other spheres. Finally, we see Sword That Was Broken, has a cost of 3. It's a little more expensive. It is an artifact and reads, attached to a hero. Attached hero gains a resource icon, leadership. So he's already leadership in this case, but this is sort of intended, I think, for the lore version. And if attached hero is Aragorn, each character you control gets +1 willpower. And it's this card that made me realize that Aragorn deserved to be in the top 4. Giving +1 willpower to every character you control is amazing. Yes, it's a bit expensive at a cost of 3, but only this ability can work if you're playing it on Aragorn. And so Aragorn's core card, I can see why you might not consider him to be in the top 4, but I think when you consider these 3 artifacts made only for Aragorn, makes him very powerful. So there we have. Let's move along to the last 3 heroes. All right, so here we are. We've got the top 3, and in my opinion, the 3rd most powerful hero in this game is Glorfindel, and Spirit Glorfindel, as there are 2 versions of Glorfindel. The first we saw in the lore sphere, here we have the Spirit version. So Glorfindel has a starting threat of 5, and this is one of the main reasons I think he belongs so high on the list. There's a lot of amazing heroes with very good stats, but the fact that Glorfindel has a starting threat of 5 and his stats are so good makes him very powerful, more so than a lot of other heroes. He has 3 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, and 5 hit points. He is also a Noldor, a noble, and a warrior. Forced after Glorfindel exhausts to commit to a quest, raise your threat by 1. So this is a problematic ability in that if you are questing with him, then you have to raise your threat by 1. It's very tempting to want to quest with him because he has a willpower 3, but we cannot talk about Glorfindel without talking about a Light of Valinor. So let's take a look at that card and some of the other cards I think that combo very well with Glorfindel to make him particularly powerful. Okay, so anytime that I play with Glorfindel, I will always have as many copies, 3 copies of Light of Valinor in my deck. It is unique, but I really want to make sure I get this card out to be able to make Glorfindel as good as his potential. So it has a cost of 1, so it's pretty cheap. It is a condition and reads, attached to a Noldor or Sylvan hero, attached hero does not exhaust to commit to a quest. So therefore, you can now still quest with Glorfindel with his high willpower of 3, but you do not have to exhaust him and therefore do not have to raise your threat. So a Light of Valinor is almost essential if you're going to be playing Glorfindel. But it's powerful because it allows you to always quest with a willpower of 3 and then be prepared to attack with his superior attack of 3 as well. He's also potentially able to take undefended attacks with 5 hit points. And you can make him an even more potent attacker by giving him a Rivendell Blade. Because Rivendell Blade reads, attached to a Noldor or Sylvan character. Glorfindel, of course, is a Noldor, and so when attached character attacks an enemy, that enemy gets -2 defense until the end of the phase. So we saw this worked very well with Legolas, but I think also makes Glorfindel a prime candidate as well. We also see a card called Elrond's Council. It's free to play and reads, if you control a unique Noldor character, give another character +1 willpower till the end of the phase and lower your threat by 3. So I feel this is an excellent card to play with Glorfindel as well. You're already going to have a low threat because his starting threat is so low at 5, and being able to play this card for free, hopefully you can play it multiple times in a game, and you're going to be able to just keep reducing your threat and keeping it low. So for this reason, I think Glorfindel is one of the best heroes in this game. I can see certainly maybe other people's opinions thinking he shouldn't be this high, but I feel just his starting threat being so low and him being so versatile, being able to quest and attack, makes him one of the best. So there we have Glorfindel, 2 heroes left to look at. Okay, number 2. I would like to preface this by saying this was really tough, deciding between number 2 and number 1. I went back and forth in my head, but ultimately I felt this hero was deserving of the number 2 spot, and that is Elrond. Elrond is a lore hero. He is a Noldor and a noble. He has a very high threat, starting threat of 13, which I think is his biggest weakness. But when you look at his stats and his abilities, you see why it's so high. He has a willpower of 3, an attack of 2, a defense of 3, and he has 4 hit points. Now his ability, you may spend resources from Elrond's resource pool to pay for spirit, leadership, and tactics allies. So this means if you have Elrond on the table, suddenly it makes playing a dual or tri-sphere deck so much easier. I've heard many people like to include him in Outlands decks just because he's able to pay for other allies so easily. He also has, after a character is healed by another card effect, heal 1 damage on it. So part of the reason Elrond makes it into the top 2 is largely because of all the cards that combo so well with him. There's a few, so let's jump in and take a look. Okay, so here are 3 almost essential cards I feel if you're going to be playing Elrond. So here we see the Warden of Healing. He has 2 cost, 1 willpower, 0 attack, 1 defense, and 1 hit point. He is a Gondor and a healer and reads, exhaust a Warden of Healing to heal 1 damage on up to 2 different characters. Then you may spend 2 resource icons to ready Warden of Healing. So when you combo this with Elrond's ability, after a character is healed by another card effect, heal 1 damage on it, well, what the Warden of Healing allows you to be healing 2 characters per turn, up to 2 damage. So this is superior healing ability. I think this is one of the most cost-effective ways to do lots of healing. And if you consider if you have multiple copies of Warden of Healing, well, then you're going to be in really good shape. Here we see Vilya as well. And like Aragorn, Vilya is a card specifically made for Elrond. So it reads, attached to Elrond, he gains the spirit resource icon, so that would make him both a lore and a spirit hero, and reads, action, exhaust Elrond in Vilya to reveal the top card of your deck. You can immediately play or put into play the revealed card for no cost if able. Otherwise, move the revealed card to the bottom of the deck. So this card is amazing. It's unfortunate that you have to exhaust Elrond, but of course there are cards that you can play to ready him. So perhaps he would be a prime candidate for Unexpected Courage. Now when you exhaust him, you get to look at the top card and play it for free. Now, you might think this is difficult, but if you combo it with a card like Imladra Stargazer, then suddenly Elrond becomes even more powerful. Her stats are pretty insignificant, 0-0-1 with 1 hit point, but her action reads exhaust Imladra Stargazer to choose a player. That player looks at the top 5 cards of his deck and then returns them to the top of his deck in any order. So with Vilya and with Imladra Stargazer, you can look at the top 5 cards, you can rearrange them, and you can set it up so that you can put the most potent or expensive card on top, and then you can use Vilya to play that card for free. So when you consider all the very expensive allies in this game, there's Brock Ironfist, there's Beorn, there's Gildor and Glorian, Haldir, Landroval. There's so many strong allies that are so prohibitive because of their cost, but if you put those all in a deck, if you have Vilya, if you have Imladra Stargazer, and you're playing Elrond, then suddenly it becomes very possible to play a lot of these cards for free and create a very strong lineup of allies. We're not done yet. Even more reasons why Elrond deserves to be the number 2. So here we see the 3 cards we played on Glorfindel, and because Glorfindel and Elrond are both Noldors, well, these cards can also work very well with Elrond. So a Light of Valinor, again, you can attach to Elrond, and attached hero does not exhaust to commit to a quest. Well, Elrond has a willpower of 3, and so this will allow you to do some good questing and still save him back for either attacking or defending, as both of those stats are good as well. The Rivendell Blade can be attached to a Noldor, so when attached character attacks an enemy, that enemy gets -2 defense. So Elrond has an attack of 2, but if you attach this to him, then suddenly he is able to be much more effective as an attacker. And as well, we see Elrond's Council has a cost of 0. If you control a unique Noldor character, give another character +1 willpower to the end of the phase and lower your threat by 3. So again, this is an effect that Elrond can take advantage of. So there's so many cards that combo well with Elrond. His abilities are great. His ability to pay for other allies is amazing. He's very good at healing. His stats are very good. The only downside is he has a high starting threat at 13. But there are cards you can play to balance this out. Perhaps you could include Glorfindel in your deck, as that would offset the high threat cost of Elrond. But I think it's very fair to say that he is one of the best heroes in this game. So I'm sure for many of you, you already know who the number one hero is, but let's take a look. So here we are, the final and number one hero, in my opinion. The best hero in this game is, of course, Dane Ironfoot. So let's take a look. Dane Ironfoot has a starting threat of 11. He has 1 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, and 5 hit points. He is a dwarf, and his superior ability reads, while Dane Ironfoot is ready, dwarf characters get +1 attack and +1 willpower. So of course, if you are building a dwarf deck, it is almost a no-brainer to want to take Dane Ironfoot. Dane Ironfoot just combos so well in any dwarf deck and really makes them one of the best keywords in this game. If you consider that all of your dwarf heroes and all of your dwarf characters, of which there are many from all the different spheres, will all have +1 attack and +1 willpower, makes them a superior keyword in this game. So whether you are battle questing or whether you're doing regular questing, and then if you're attacking, all of your dwarves are going to get a boost. He also has an amazing defense with a printed cost of 3, and so even if you are playing readying effects on him, perhaps you have unexpected courage, or perhaps you're using a card like Cram, but if you are able to ready him, you can use his readying ability to give all dwarves +1 attack and +1 willpower, but then you can also ready him to defend and block as well. As with 3 defense and 5 hit points, it makes him very sturdy. And if you play cards buffing his defense and buffing his hit points, Dane Ironfoot is just so well-rounded and a fantastic hero. So let's take a look at some of the cards that also combo well with Dane Ironfoot. So firstly, there are so many cards that you could use to boost Dane Ironfoot, as he is a dwarf, and there's so many allies and so many cards for dwarves. I think it goes without saying that there is a ton of cards that will combo with Dane Ironfoot, and I'm not going to go through them all here, but I think some ones that will help boost his abilities. The first is Hardy Leadership, has a cost of 2, reads attached to a leadership hero. Each dwarf character gets +1 hit point. So if you play this on Dane Ironfoot, he is then giving all dwarves +1 attack, +1 willpower, and +1 hit point. And then if you're going to be using Dane as a defender, then you may want to consider putting some ringmail or citadel plate on him as well. So both of these can be attached to dwarves and will give his hit points and defense a boost in the case of ringmail, or give him 4 extra hit points with citadel plate. So Dane Ironfoot, just because he's able to boost both attack and willpower for all characters, makes him the best hero in this game, in my opinion. There are other heroes that will boost attack or boost willpower, but he does both. And then when you consider there's so many good dwarf cards, there's so many good synergies, it just really makes him a ridiculously amazing hero. So that's my selection for number 1. Thanks very much for watching this top 10. I will certainly be doing another top 10 at some point once we have some more expansions out, as I'm sure there'll be many more great heroes to come out as well. Please, I'd be very curious to hear what your top 10 looks like. So in the comments below, please post your top 10, and I'd love to hear any feedback you have. Do you feel I left anyone out who really deserves to be on this list, or do you feel I included someone that really shouldn't? If anyone listens to the Cardboard of the Rings podcast, I already know that Brandon probably hates me right now for not putting Tactics Boromir on there, as he loves Tactics Boromir, and I'm sure that would be very high on his list. But anyways, thanks very much for watching. Please post your top 10. I would love to hear who you think the best heroes in this game are. I would like to say I'm going to be taking the month of December off. As a teacher, we've got Christmas concerts, we've got parent-teacher interviews, and I'll also be going away for Christmas break and won't be able to make videos. So for everyone who's been watching this series, thank you. I'm planning to come back in January and continue looking at the player cards and hopefully doing some other cool videos for Lord of the Rings Living Card Game as well. So have a great December, have a good Christmas break, and hopefully get lots of time to play this game. Have a great week.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.